Work. I'm your host, Anita Krishan, and together we'll uncover how leaders create cultures where people can truly thrive. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Jay Arya, People and Culture Director APAC at Golan and former HRBP leader at TikTok. Jay brings over 20 years of experience aligning human capital strategies to organizational goals with deep focus on team effectiveness, inclusive cultures, and building resilience in the face of change. Jay and I worked together at TikTok during one of the most extraordinary periods in the company's history. I think that's fair enough for us to say that and make that claim. Scaling operations across at breakneck speed, building teams, shaping culture, and then navigating the unexpected, which was the TikTok ban in India. And it was a time of incredible growth, innovation, and ultimately profound transition as we scaled back to global operations teams only in India. And today, Jay leads people and culture initiatives across APAC, empowering teams, fostering high-performing workplace cultures, and creating environments where both the individuals and the actual business can thrive. And so I'm really excited to speak to Jay because he's super passionate about solving complex challenges. I've seen it firsthand with my experience at TikTok with him. And then the human-centered side of things, the solutions that actually help organizations adapt and thrive. So welcome, Jay.
Thank you so much, Anita, for calling me over here. And it's really a pleasure.
Yeah, it's so good to be able to sit down. We're talking about, life post TikTok, what that looks like. And I know we all have had an amazing journey. And so I'm just really excited before we dive into the TikTok story landscape of things, I'd love to hear a bit about what first drew you into people leadership. Because that path is always unique for everyone. And it tells plenty of stories on how someone has come into becoming a people and culture leader today and how that experience has shaped who they've become today. So I'd love to open the...
That's a very deep question, actually, I would say, because, it's now over 2 decades, I've been working as an HR professional. But, what actually keeps me very close to the culture building and the talent is connecting with people who are you working with very closely and deeply, to understand them. It's not about only getting the business outcome from them, but it's also about how we can help them to nurture, their own growth. How can they move forward? So for me, it's like, when you work with a business, the business focus is always to drive revenue out of those people. But being a culture leader, my job is to make sure that, the human values are intact. And these people are feeling like human beings. It's not like they're not machines, right? They're not somebody who can be over leveraged on certain things. So that's the reason I really like my field, wherein I contribute in terms of managing the human resource part of it from the business standpoint, but from an employee standpoint, from the people standpoint, also take care of their emotions, their well-being, how they are actually doing in their personal lives, and make sure that they're also upgrading their skills so that they're relevant to the market, and they feel that if they're working for the business, probably it has a long-term value for themselves as well. So I think that's the way I think as a culture leader. Yeah,
amazing. And did you always, I know you've had that stance of focusing on HR since the beginning from schooling, but what kind of drove you through that, conviction that I'm going to be a people and culture leader, this is the path I'm going to take, instead of, going into all kinds of other fields?
I would say that happened because during my school, college days, when I started picking up a few projects, I always got appreciated by my, teachers and they always say you lead projects really well, especially those cultural programs, in schools and colleges. From there, I started developing that hobby of directing people and asking them that, this sounds good, appreciating more, and then trying to tell them that this is how it should be done. And so I grew that kind of, interest in that way. Later on, when I started working, as an intern in one of the biggest conglomerate in India, actually, that's when I got really appreciated by all the leaders. That's when I thought this might be my calling, and that's what I really enjoy from within. And it doesn't feel like, I'm working kind of thing, because connecting with people, it really recharge me every time. Solving problem rather than solving problem for the business, but keeping the human value in mind, that actually makes me more passionate about this side of the professionalism. So that's why I feel that this is the right way of working. And that's the core of my value system, I think.
Love it. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Let's take listeners behind the scenes to our time at TikTok. This is one of those times where there was no playbook written on how to navigate this level of geopolitical uncertainty, and you were there on one of the core members or HR leaders in India at that time. And I know I was on the other side of making sure that we had to take those tough calls. And I think it's important discussion to be had, like in hindsight, looking at what that was like for you to be able to come in with the mandate of scaling India operations for TikTok, working super hard to bring in the best leaders possible. And then having to do on the flip side of scaling back down operations, but also the timing, how it all unfolded, and I think just keeping how the team was kept on payroll for at least 8 months before trying to really figure out a solution, and that kind of commitment. I think people don't hear about those kind of behind the scenes war stories as much, and so I wanted to kind of get your perspective on what was that like, and how that's shaped my experience everywhere else. And so that's something that came from me thinking about how to make sure people feel like they're leaving with dignity. How do they make sure they feel appreciated, valued, which was core to your own personal values. And so, yeah, I'd love to kind of hear from you on what was that like during that time.
I consider myself as one of the fortunate professional who had actually experienced this entire journey of what an individual HR professional tries to achieve it over a period of long time, right? So it was one short year wherein I had to build a team, and also I had to shut the system like by the end of the year. So it was the shortest in terms of tenure, but it was longest in terms of emotional management kind of stuff. So for me, when I got this mandate of hiring and scaling up the teams, it was really exciting. I was really excited, and I had never done this before, so that's why I was so excited to do this. Of course, there were sleepless nights, 24/7 kind of work environment. You know that how it was. But I really enjoyed it because we were building something really big and huge, and everybody wanted to contribute. So it was very nice, and I was full of energy, putting every effort, and doing all of that. And it was really satisfying to see that something is shaping up really well, right? But then, bang! All of a sudden, something happened, right? We know that we had to scale down, and for me personally, it was very, very challenging. I think for most of the leaders, it was very challenging emotionally because we had to manage our own emotions first before we manage others' emotions. And I know that it was overwhelming for most of the leaders at that time. I don't want to recall it, but then I saw you crying in one of the calls. I remember that you broke down in one of the calls, right?
It was with the HR leadership team. It was one of those post moments where it was like thank you. It was to the team because you guys had 48 hours notice to do the work, and it was a lot to ask for folks, but I think it was remarkable. It was more from like a sense of pride for the team as well, being so proud of how everyone executed it. There were I'll share my side of some of the things that we were asked to do, and I put my foot down and said, no, actually, that's not how we're doing it. And if that means the team is going to call every single employee that's impacted, we will do that. But we are not cutting off the system. We're not just sending out an email saying goodbye, which is why the discussions were back and forth along the way, because there's always, it's a global leadership team that thinks they can do. I'm like, you don't understand the cultural context of India and how the team members, the folks that we've hired for India, they they're the sole breadwinner half the time. There's in-laws living with them, grandparents. The context, like I come from Sri Lankan, so the South Asian context of those nuances just was being missed. And that was, I said, no, if I'm going down in history with this, it's going to be the right way. And I think that's where you came in with, as you said, the leaders who really, it was overwhelming for them too. And the true colors of leaders came out. Those absolutely. Who, without mentioning names, but those who, really stood up and said, this is how I want it done for my department, my team. Versus other leaders who said, cool, what's my severance? And as fast as the conversation could go. And I was kind of like, what, do we want, let's focus on, giving out the communication. This is the change management plans, etc. But as you said, it was one of those moments, like you had, like it called for a level of, composure to do something like that. And we haven't talked about the scale of this, but by that time that we scaled the team, it's at least 2,500. It's not a small little, small operations or anything. But it's insane.
Yeah, it was one of the, I think, the most important also in a way that it actually shaped me as an HR professional, right? Wherein I always focus towards the first part of it, like, talent, upgrading skills, making more like people employable, like, in those side. But then I saw the other side wherein you have to sometimes, let go of people who are highly skilled, who are like, very rare to find kind of talent, right? And it was so shocking to me that, okay, that can also happen, right? That's the other side of the reality which you have to be familiar with. So that really helped me. And that time, yes, emotionally, it was for me, it was so draining that I decided that, I have to speak to almost everybody who's losing their job personally. Personally, I think I've spoken with more than 250 people myself within a week's time. I try to take out time, even 15, 20 minutes, but I was talking to everybody just to see that how they're doing. So it was quite a draining exercise. But that's how it was.
You point, like you said it really well. It was a huge leadership lesson in a short amount of time, which most people have that bandwidth and the tenure of other things that was done. But that was my experience since day one of TikTok, like coming in. It felt like I was definitely Olivia Pope from Scandal, like literally crisis management mode from the beginning. And if you remember, like we can say this now because it's all public, but like I remember welcoming the CEO that was temporarily saying, hey, welcome Kevin. And then shortly 90 days in later, goodbye Kevin. And then shortly after, here's a thank you bonus for the entire employee basis. And it was just one of those things where it's like, this is unreal. Like how often does this happen? And with from the geopolitical side with India, it just happened so fast. And there was a lot of what I really appreciated about the leaders was this hope that we can bounce back and get back into the market. And, you would have seen some of the leaders who work super hard to try to get back in and do all the talks from our public policy teams, all the initiatives around trust and safety to regain back that confidence. But it was, until it stalled, until it took about 8 months where people didn't have that clarity on what was going to happen, but at least redeployment of as many people to Singapore and UK and Dubai. Most of some of the team members all got to do that, which was, I'm happy about that. At least half got to be redeployed. But one of the things that people don't realize, it was this conversation and was a proper talent review of every person on there. And we were really lucky that the CEO actually cared. And sure, it was a 10 to 11 p.m. slot every day, but we went through as many folks as possible to be able to say, can this person's skill set be redeployed somewhere else? And then, and of course, being able to design the how people left and what we were giving everyone in terms of making sure that healthcare was extended, including their dependents. But that kind of severance is not even shined about or talked about because that's how humble the leadership team was about it. And I think like my ask, I remember saying, I'm like, oh, could we, I would like to do the following because I want everyone to be able to feel confident when we do come back that they boomerang back to us. And that was kind of like the first principles with the new, with this is why I'm designing what I'm designing. Yeah, it was like a lesson of how to keep something so stealth for so long, to ensure that for the first time, this isn't something people hear about in the news versus actual coming from inside, which was probably it's never happened in other companies. If you know how these types of things happen, it just was always drastic. But yeah, it was, as you said, a huge lesson learned. And I think I'd love to talk a bit about what you noticed in terms of leadership values coming out with the leadership team. And because you work closely with some of the leaders who really, there was extended operations after that and further things that kept going. And I think those were huge lessons for me, where seeing some of the business leaders go through some of those challenges and really be vocal about protecting their teams and finding ways and solutions, creative solutions, which I think were exciting to be able to say, actually, India can still run global operations and still be relevant without having to do something locally. And not many companies think like that. Yeah. So this is one of those moments where I think those kind of leaders and what the values, what they exhibited is probably a good lesson learned.
Yeah, I think most of the leaders, it was not only trying to protect their teams and trying to deploy them somewhere else. They were really worried about, their future, and then how would they get the job, because it was a COVID times, so
yes, exactly.
Nobody was really sure about that, how they're going to search for a new job and things like that. So outplacement was another thing. So for me, the biggest lesson was leadership is not about something which you always demonstrate in public, saying that, hey, this is what I'm going to do for you, or I'm just doing it for you. So most of the leaders were working behind the scene. They were not even talking to the employees at how much efforts are they putting in. But I saw them working 24/7. They were available. We all were available. We were working round the clock, trying to put all kind of efforts wherein we can help our people, we can retain them, we can redeploy them and things like that. But none of the leader actually came out and said that I have tried my level best to do this and that. And they never talk about the things they have really done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest lesson, that you work in. So leadership is all about, working in silos, and then doesn't, beat the drum in front of the public saying that this is what I'm doing, kind of stuff. So that's what made them, good leaders, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, you saw that, just even with the business leaders, but also the founders and the way they handle it. I've never been in a company where employees are thanking the founders for what.
Absolutely.
At the time when they were leaving, it was because it was the COVID time, and we were mindful of that, and still being on payroll for 8 months is that doesn't happen anywhere. And I think the level of care came through. You're right. There's so much behind the scenes with leaders, and I've had some that broke down with me as well. Like, hey, I have a situation. This one particular person. This is not the worst timing we could be doing this. What could we do? It was. I think it was one of those things where it just accumulated, and I remember right after the town hall, I remember just collapsing on the couch. I was just like, it was going on for far too long with trying to do it. And then shortly after, I said, hey, we need to have a session with the team. To Ruba, I said, hey, we need to speak to the entire HR team that has just executed on this with 48 hours notice. I really think this needs a conversation. That's the one where I tried to say thank you to the team, but I couldn't even bring words towards it, because it was mission impossible of doing. It's I know the easy way to do it is sending a little email and blocking people off, as of every tech company has done. But there's just something so fundamentally wrong about doing that and not giving people access. And I said, no, this team worked really hard. They deserve the right type of treatment. And I think that ever since then, I said, there's no way I'm doing these kind of scale down operations without time to talk to every single person impacted and a solution for what does that mean for their future. And the outplacement part, every leader has connections to be able to help them move forward. Yeah, insane. No, thank you for sharing that. I know that wasn't easy, and as you said, it shaped how you lead now, and how you scale operations in APAC at Golan. And for me, I'm really excited to kind of share how this has now shaped your experience in building organizational culture. I know Golan just got Best Place to Work as well. I saw that message from the APAC president. You're doing something right. There's something that's, people are feeling that sense of belonging. They're feeling seen, heard. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you're shaping culture, especially now when that trust has been eroded in some companies, at least, not to say yours, but whether it's startups, scale-ups, the global networks that you're seeing. How is this differing, especially in APAC versus what the global team is doing, and how this is impacting your work?
I think that's a very deep question, I would say, because over a period of time, of course, because of different experiences I had so far, and especially with the startups, and I would not call TikTok as one of the startups, because it is really a big organization. And coming from there, joining a PR agency of high repute like Golan is one of the highly reputed PR agencies in the world. So joining over here, I think my role was just created for APAC, and that's when I joined. And I knew that, when you have a playground to play, and then, how you really want to shape up the culture, and it's up to you and the leadership. The leadership was on board, like, whatever plans we actually created for our people over here. So how it actually, the world has changed completely in last couple of years' time. If you talk about few things, one of them is AI, which has really disrupted the way we used to work earlier, right? It has really impacted the talent world, right? We have seen that more than 1 million jobs has been lost in last 1 year, right? And from the big tech companies, and it is so it has actually impacted the mindset of our people everywhere. It's not about only those tech companies, but across, like advertising agencies or the media agencies or tech companies. Everywhere, people are like kind of scared that what's going to happen next. AI is going to take our jobs and things like that. So this time is a time of ambiguity, a lot of insecurity among people, right? So how would you keep things going? How would you build a culture wherein people feel secure? How people feel that it's a culture of transparency, regular communication, openness, and still we are just using AI, and then trying to build a culture wherein people are not scared of AI, but learn it as a tool which may help them to enhance their career, to enhance their skill set. So that was the bottom line. The best thing about this organization was when I joined Golan, they said that they want to be a fully AI-driven agency by 2026, right? So that actually built a base for everybody that, okay, so AI is something which you don't have to be scared about, but just acquire, AI as a skill. That how can you utilize it for your day-to-day job? Amazing. How can you make sure that you are upgrading your skills, and then using it for clients' problems and things like that. So the culture has gradually developed as, rather than getting scared of the AI, but the people are actually getting equipped with it, and then moving forward, they're actually using it for the client's work. So I would not say that there is no disruption as of now in PR agency. There are a lot of disruption happening because of AI, but then we just made sure that people have the right skills, and the people are actually moving forward with it. So that is one part of it. The other part of it is, earlier advertising was very the agency people really used to they actually wanted to get into advertising and PR because it used to be really flashy organization, flashy work. People will get attracted towards it, that, oh, that's a cool work, I want to be part of it. But in last few years, I've seen that there is a decline I think there are two reasons behind it. One was those COVID days when people actually saw that, oh, people are dying because of, and they're just working, and they're losing their lives kind of stuff. So one lesson people learned it is life is precious. Do not spend your life within those, offices and working 24/7. You have to live your life too. So a lot of leaders, they come to me and they're like, it's very hard to convince Gen Z to work the way we used to work, right? Because they have learned that from this COVID times that, oh, I have to work, but at the same time, I have to live my life too. So that is one way of it. The other side is because of the AI, most of the basic level jobs are actually getting, going to AI side, so getting automated. So a lot of freshers, youngsters, they're not getting those basic jobs anymore, right? Because companies are thinking that we can automate it. So it's very hard to attract new, talent and, fresh graduates to the business. So that is a challenge which I feel that we are facing as an industry, not as a company, but as an industry. That's why I feel that these are the two factors wherein we really have to focus and see that how can we leverage it and make it make people understand that this is now how it is going to be like. There should be some way around to attract people and make sure that AI is not going to take your job away. It's going to make your life easier.
Yeah, it's like you said, embracing it and having people reskill
Right,
upfront early
right.
on. It's interesting. Like I like. There's all kinds of labels that
Yeah.
people put versus millennials versus Gen Zs and stuff.
Yeah.
But what I see about the Gen Zs have learned that they're not going to do what the mistakes that millennials made of burning out, not enjoying themselves, not traveling.
True.
You make a lot of money, but you're miserable. Like this is like all billionaires. So you can read from Robin Sharma's work where everyone's trying to talk about what true wealth means and things, and this has been happening since forever.
Yeah.
And it's cycles of like generations that go through this where they want to take that break or go fractional because they've been burnt out. My case in point. To be able to sit here and have a podcast is not something that I envisioned or had time for in the past. But they can see that there is more to life and working on things that you're super passionate about instead of trying to fix into a box and a traditional career path, etc. And this is where I think, especially in the creative side of the agency, there's just so much cooler things that they could be doing too. They don't have to work for an agency. They can build up this brand stuff for organizations in a fractional capacity and achieve so much more. And so it's so interesting to see how different generations value work and for me to be able to take a break versus someone who's looking to start off in their career, but also is very clear on boundaries that, hey, I need to get out to make it to Pilates, which could you imagine us telling our leaders at TikTok that, oh, sorry, I'm going to step out to go to the gym. that wasn't happening at all, right? And so I know people talk about freshman 15, but I had the TikTok 15 when I was there, especially during the pandemic. And now I look back that those are the true currencies of life in general and doing things where it's purposeful. And that's the parts where I think, how do you build these companies where motivation of talent and making sure that they feel like they belong to the organization. There's a sense of community and camaraderie around what they're working on. And so this is where I think mission-driven companies that are really having that greater impact are thriving in, and people resonate with it. And so it's such a different world at the moment. In terms of, we've been talking about already going into the direction of what it means to make work more human. And I think, especially in the age of AI, this is where I think, a lot of things, yes, can be automated, but it's not all perfect yet. We're far from losing our jobs because AI is going to do everything. You'll see all these memes about people doing housework and chores and when is AI going to take over some of these things? But in reality, the sense making, the critical thinking of employees needing to reskill in these kind of areas is super important. And so I'd love to hear a bit about, how you guys are reskilling on the AI front, and how is that, like, I think you already said it, the transparency around 2026, we're going to be AI first and AI led. And what does that look like in terms of experimentation with AI, and how employees are kind of like diving into that?
So I think our people, they really understand the value of AI now, and everybody knows that without it, it's very hard to move forward, right? This is inevitable to use AI in day-to-day work, and especially in our work. I think we have already started a lot of using a lot of tools. We have already given training to our people on many tools, how efficiently they can use AI, and we have already started using a lot of AI tools already. Our people have been trained on a lot of tools already. But then this is a journey which has just been started, I guess. Will take a long time to really unlock the potential of AI. But on the other side, we do not want to lose out on the people side of it, right?
Of course,
Our business is people-driven business. It's all about building relationship, taking care of taking care of and understanding the emotions of our clients and their needs, right? Some part of it can be automated, the responses and things like that, but then you cannot generate those genuine emotions, and you cannot build relationship through AI, right? You need human interaction in that way. So I guess in our business, I think the human interaction and the human need will never go away. That's
Absolutely.
what I feel. If people think that AI is going to take away jobs, a lot of jobs, of course it will take away jobs. But at the same time, I feel that it will also create a lot of jobs too. And people are actually saying that they have started using AI, they are the experts and things like that. But most of the people are at a very basic level as of now. We all are using it for, asking questions. We're just trying to do some basic stuff. I think most of the population I'm talking about, it's gonna take some time that when people really know how they can utilize AI in terms of business, in terms of their daily productivity, efficiencies, and those kind of stuff it's going to take some time. So that's the business part of it. But if you talk about how we are taking care of our people, I think the leaders, they really want to be in touch with their people. They want to understand them deeply, right? It's about how do you build your relationship with your employees, giving them confidence that we still care for you. It's a very humane side of it. So it's still there. So in my organization, all the leaders, they know what is happening in their colleagues' life. They're not interfering there, but at least they know that what stage are they in. Are they getting married, or they're having children, or they're about to buy a car or about to buy a house? So what stage are they in their lives? What is happening? And then
they actually care.
They actually care for that, right? And then that's how people feel that, oh, my organization. So I would not say that, it's always a sense of belongingness with the organization. If you ask somebody that, how do you think you like your organization or you don't like it? They'll actually talk about their interaction with their managers and leaders, right? It's not about relationship with the brand of your organization. So I think we focus there. We always emphasize that our leaders should take genuine interest in their teams, in the team members' lives, so that it brings them together. It creates a sense of belongingness with the organization.
Yeah. No, it's so important. This is what the research shows. You're in organizations, if you're fully aligned and feel trusted by your manager, if you feel like they have your back, you're gonna jump through all kinds of hoops. And Absolutely. I think this is where we keep saying with AI, sure, it's going to make you more productive and efficient, but that's so that you have more time to do all the things that actually matter, the human side of things, so that you have time to have those deeper one-on-ones versus just project updates and surface level and go to the next meeting and go. And I think this is where I feel that can make work more human if used properly. And this is where I think we're still at early stage, as you said. There's different stages of companies where they think that they've made a commitment that they're going to be AI first, and this is what. But how do we get there, and how much time it'll take, and showing just having employees embrace it is kind of the first step. And so, is there something that you've seen with how you help leaders to kind of like nurture this human side of the things? Because I know a lot of it, we touched on it, we're building high performing organizations, business outcomes matter. How are you seeing that from a coaching lens, or just in the HR business partnering kind of context? How is that being shaped so that they can actually do this human side of things? I love that they have interest and they're doing it, but is there something that you've put part of a leadership development program, or something that's, I'd love to hear that they've been hired because they're great leaders, but I'm looking at some of the practices that HR leaders listening in can kind of say, how do I do that? How do I create this in my own company? That, how do I educate my leaders to actually care about their people? Which is sometimes I had a coffee chat yesterday and someone said, I'm like, as an HR leader, I'm hoping that they care, but what I see is they're business driven and they don't even have the one-to-ones. And so I'm really happy that that's not the case in Golan, but I'd love to kind of dissect that a bit so that other leaders can take this in terms of practice and start implementing in their companies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting question, actually. We have to actually think or understand first that where these leaders are coming from, right? Mm-hmm. I have dealt with mostly, the sales-driven leaders, like who are the sales leaders, or people who are into client servicing or who are dealing with the clients. They always carry a pressure of revenue, business development and those kind of stuff. And they really want to push their team members to work even harder. And they forget the side. They keep pushing them for the revenue. They keep pushing for the sales and things like that. Sometimes they push them so much so that there is a high attrition rate in their teams, right? They lose good people also.
It shows up.
So whenever I come across those things, so I think the best part in today's world, in my current organization and previous organizations where I've worked with, they always have to come and consult it with the HR business partner before they execute or do anything like that. They come and take advices from HR that, how do you think I should do it? So one way of doing it is just to tell them that this is the way and this is the policies, this is the process you can actually go follow and do it. The other way is just to advise them, saying that, hey, I know that why you're doing it, but then there are other aspects to it too. So HR business partner can actually bring in lot of value during those conversations with the business leaders. So it actually starts with when you are advising them one-on-one. Two, if you feel that the large number of business leaders, they don't understand it, that's when you bring in the training or the development program for all the leaders. If you think that they're not at this, they're not in the sync, or they're not talking on the same line. So I think we have to bring them to a common principle that how would you deal with your people, right, across. It will also help you to build a culture which is of same values, same, kind of environment. So my advice to most of the business leaders who are advising their business partners to actually dissect each aspect of, when dealing with your employees and advise them accordingly. If you're dealing with a low performing employee, then what are the ways you can actually improve? What are the ways you can guide that employee? Do you really want to spend some time or invest some energy into developing that person? If you think that person is a wrong hire, that's altogether a different kind of conversation, right? But if you see a potential, then how can you improve? Two, what is happening to the personal side of that employee? Is he or she suffering from some kind of personal problems and issues? If that can be sorted out, if you want to give that person some time, to some time off to come back and do this. So you have to look at both sides: skill side, attitude side, the personal side of it, and then take the decision. Do not take any decision right after having one incident wherein that person has done something wrong, right? So you have to look at in a larger perspective. It's not like one incident, just I want to get rid of that person, or oh, this person has done a great job, I want to promote that person or
Oh,
give
I've
him
seen that
give
so
him
many
a
times.
yeah.
Exceeds promotion.
Yeah.
Before the next cycle rolls up,
Yeah.
we need to get rid of this person. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you need to tell me why, because
Yeah.
you've just given them a superstar rating
Yeah.
last cycle.
Yeah.
They were recently promoted, and now you feel
Yeah.
there needs development. Like, explain, tell me more.
Yeah.
And it always comes down, as you said, these kind of rash decisions that are
Absolutely.
made. And as HR leaders, we would need to be able to be like, okay, hang on there. It's not as easy.
Yeah. And
especially in APEC with
Oh.
all the restrictions, all kinds of restrictions.
The legality is a different part of it, but then sometimes I was talking to a very senior leader, not in this company, someone who was outside the organization, and he said that my one of the leaders wants to get rid of one employee. I said, but what is the reason? It's like he doesn't like that person at all, right? And I was like, but as an HR, I would not advise you to do that. Probably we can transfer that person to some other team. But why do you think so? Then that leader told me that if you do it, that leader will never work with you. Right? So those kind of situations also you face sometimes, right? So as an HR, you have to be really strategic in the way you are actually dealing with the leaders also. So you cannot directly go and tell them that, hey, you cannot do that, right? You have to come up with the kind of logic, some kind of rationale, some kind of data point, some kind of background, context, and then advise those leaders so that they listen to you first, and then you can actually gradually put that the case in front of that person. So I use those tricks so that I am not confronting anybody, and I'm not rubbing anybody on wrong side. So I think that's the way we should work, and that's how I work. At least that's my way of working. So I know a few HR leaders who directly go and jump into the conversation and say like, you cannot do that kind of stuff. So I would not advise anybody to work like that. There's always a diplomatic way of
I've seen it
navigating.
go different ways, where I've had people, of course, on my team where they'll be that straight shooter who says, no, you can't do that. These are the legal consequences. You still see the business leader going around behind their back, trying to still get it done, or overstep them to then go to their manager. Like, it just follows up the chain. Next thing you know, I'm involved, and you're saying, no, this is, I trust my team member, and then like, well, they said they couldn't do it, and it's like, okay, well, maybe that's not what they wanted to hear. And this is where the coaching comes in, to be able to say, let's look at finding ways to ask them, get them to see the other side of the story before making those kind of decisions. And and I'll always hear from the HRBP, it's just a typical alpha male behavior. We're going to get sued. And especially for traditional HR practitioners who are worried about the legal side of things. And I'm saying, no, let's go back to the human elements of this. What is from an employee side, what are we saying? What have we done so far? And have we given the employee a chance to thrive? Is this fully on the manager? Is this like, there's just so much more to it, and I think that's we get the different flavors of HRBPs that go in and do this. And I've always been, as you said, like the one that looks for potential solutions, and at the same time sharing the caveat. You can do this, but you may be risking the following. Are you open to that? Do you have time to spend in mediation or arbitration should it go in that direction? And then they're kind of like, but if you can't just say no right off the bat, as you said, they would be like, okay, I can't work with this person. I need a new BP. We've seen that before, right? So it's...
That is one.
I'm thinking of one leader already from TikTok that we both worked with. That's on the tail end. You never go and saying no to this leader, but if you sit down with them to say, "Hey, here's how I would handle this, and here's the breakdown of it," they do come around. Eventually, they might need to sleep on it, but they'll eventually come around. And because we've not challenged them in a confrontational way, but actually been a sidekick to a thought leader, a thought partner to them,
Yeah.
there's a great deal of respect that's formed.
Yeah.
And why
Yeah.
this very same leader is like, I want Jay on this, and like, I'll talk to Jay to see if he wants in on what you want. But there's then that relationship is fully based on trust.
Yeah.
And it's not the HR said no.
Yeah.
HR sucks. It's similar. Like, we don't want HR to have the same rep as legal.
Yeah.
Because we want to leave legal to be the ones that tell you the no's and all that.
Yeah.
At least we can be a little bit more of the sounding board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Agree.
Love that. Yeah, I think it's just remarkable. That I think on one of the things that you touched on this, that where it's difficult times, adversaries happen. How are you helping to build a little bit more of that resilient organization? I think the high performing ones, that's easy. We hit the targets. Especially from your side, where it's been mostly for the sales leadership and these kind of roles. But that resilience part is what makes or breaks companies. And I think for us, we were talking about TikTok before we started the rolling of the cameras, and it's because as a company, it felt very resilient in terms of facing head on whatever came through and happened. And that's another through line that I'm seeing in companies that are doing really well now. It's because their ability to bounce back from setbacks and leadership showing that kind of confidence in it. I'd love to hear a bit more about that, because that's probably a missing element that people aren't realizing. It's actually the best organizations have this solved or have a way to make decisions that give the confidence to employees that we have this under control.
So there are certain things to consider before we actually talk about this. There are situations which we can control. There are certain situations we can't control, right? Mm-hmm. I've seen that people really develop that resilience when they're getting kind of clear communication, when they are getting transparency from the top management. I think people get that, and they actually want to stand with the management during that tough times. I've seen that. If you're hiding certain things and you're just trying to tell them something but not clearly stating that what's going to happen, you're just trying to keep them in ambiguity, and that's when they lose confidence in you, in the leadership as well. So in all the organizations wherever there's a tough time comes in, and wherever I've actually worked in past and I'm working now, we try to keep everything transparent. As much information we have, we try to pass it on to our people so that they have full trust in us, right? And then tomorrow something happens, they say that we are standing next to you. We know that what you are going through, and it is not everything on you. That so I was really surprised, when we had to let go of a few people, let's say in TikTok, and when we were talking to them, and they said that, oh, it must be tough for you too, right? So why those people can feel that leaders are also going through the same kind of challenge, or the emotional things, because there was a transparency, there was a kind of communication which was going on a regular basis. People are getting updates on regular basis, and that's when they develop that kind of resilience, that okay, whatever you say, I'm going to follow it. I know that you're my leader and you're thinking for me. So I think that's the key: the communication, the regular interaction, and the transparency. And that's how you can build that culture of resilience. People will follow, will stand with you.
And it's like, I can hear like the trust element coming through, and
absolutely.
Now I'm thinking about it, like every time I work on some of these things, and we talk about like why we've drunk the Kool-Aid, we are fully bought in, we see the impact that can be made, and so we're willing to stretch, we're willing to go limits, because there's that trust in the leadership. The impact's there, but they're also letting you in on and I think for me, what I like, especially at TikTok, they approached it with such vulnerability, which I appreciated. There was a lot of, I don't know how to do this. How do you think we should do this? what should we do next? And there was actually taking your advice, which I appreciate. Like I've worked in other companies where you would tell them something, advise them, and then they would walk away and do something exactly what you told them not to do.
Yeah.
Whereas here, there's, hey, we're bringing in the experts and we're happy to pay top dollar for the experts, and they're going to solve these problems for us, and they're going to be with us on the journey and through the tough times. And that's where when I think about some of the leaders who are there still, because they've been on the battleground since the beginning. And I think that level of trust and belief in what they're building and the organization and the impact that can be had. And so for me, with resilience, like you said, the transparency on what's happening, being let in early on some of these topics is one of the key parts.
Yeah.
I think we're slowly looking at the clock, and I know we're almost out of time, but I wanted to kind of think about like what gives you hope in terms of, we say future of work, but I keep telling everyone, hey, we're in that future of work now. We're already in it. So what gives you hope in terms of, because we can always talk about future of work for a decade, but in the now, what's kind of giving you hope when you think about how the world of work is evolving, how this human connection, human AI collaboration can be, what is giving you kind of hope that these things are going to work out? It's there. Yeah, sure. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things happening. It's also, the way the world is working right now with all kinds of political leaders and leadership challenges and all of that in the world. But what do you think is, what is hopeful for you in terms of the future of work?
I think I'm very optimistic.
Yeah.
Even if in this, unsettling times when there are a lot of things that are happening across the globe, we keep hearing those news from big companies and tech companies. There's a lot of layoffs are happening. People are losing their job. AI is taking over jobs and blah, blah, blah. There are a lot of things that are happening. But my hope is on human connection, I would say. You cannot do without human connections at all. Relationship, the way you interact with another human being, it cannot be replaced. The way I feel, I don't think AI can feel for anyone, right? So it can never be replaced. At the end of the day, I think the base of every business, as per my understanding, is human emotions, right? Even if you're selling things, if you're buying things, it's all about emotions, right? AI can push for it. AI can build technologies to sell those things. However, I think there should be a kind of emotions to carry out that thing. Like, that's how people will go and buy stuff. So all the businesses and everything actually sustain on emotions, right? So for me, human connections is something which is ultimate. Nothing can replace it. So for the HR profession, I feel that my field will never be redundant, right? Even if you bring a lot of automation to, let's say, hiring, L&D, preparing those modules, the HR operations wherein letters are coming and getting printed and everything is getting automated. But at the end of the day, you need human interaction everywhere. When people are feeling low, when the business is going down, when people are actually getting promotions, when people are getting, hikes, or, there is some kind of, celebrations is happening. It can only happen with people. Right, highs and lows, and people want to be with each other, right? Absolutely. So that emotion will always remain, even if there are so many automation comes in. So I'm really hopeful that HR will always play an important role to build that culture of collaboration, openness, trust, transparency. It cannot be built by machines. So I think that's why I'm really hopeful that the future will still belong to the HR professionals and HR business partners everywhere.
I love that. Yeah, no, I recently read something around the same concept of we're going to go through these phases of AI where, first bit is time frame is around automation. We get there, we're efficient, everybody's on a high, they're so productive. Second one is around, hacking towards like innovation around AI. And there comes a point where there's like a downfall towards back to this human connection piece where being outside matters. They crave this because we're in that AI hype now.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a moment where it comes back, that time and phase where it comes back to this notion of human connection and just being outdoors. And you can't AI can't fake it. You need you need that. And I think my hope is that they have the time back to do all of these meaningful things that and it's for me it's like right now it's on the easy efficiencies around meetings and things like that. Like it's already been just huge on that. I get it. There were minute takers before, but none of that's needed now, and huge appreciation for that. But then we're still in that mindset that now I have this time, so now I can work more. So until we get hacked through that, I think that's when people are going to start seeing, oh, I've done this. This is successful. This is enough of an achievement. Of redefining the definition of success, and then the human element of it. And I often stumble upon LinkedIn has a lot of gibberish now, a lot of supposedly thought leaders who've never worked in HR would be like, first thing I'm going to do is kill HR team. It's not needed, and you're kind of like, really? I'm like, cool. Your managers are all first-time managers are all set up for success, and you don't need an HR business partner. You're going to successfully run calibration exercise for performance without HR. Be my guest. Go for it. Is kind of the thing. Jay, thank you so much for taking the time. I love that when I asked, you said yes, absolutely. I'm in. And so I'm really excited that we got to have time to sit down, share insights, but also reflect a bit on how our journey at TikTok has shaped us today. And it's just been remarkable. And how fast time has flown by is insane. But I genuinely appreciate you coming to do this here in Singapore, but also your journey from being in the team in India and then now venturing out finally to Singapore and being able to build out your scope to the region and really have a great impact in the region. I always love spotlighting Asia Pacific because there's just so much that happens in the valley and all this buzz around it, but it's very US led, which is totally fine. But until someone has worked in APEC and understands the nuances of just Southeast Asia alone, maybe even just let's even narrow the focus down. It's a beast, and also the innovation that happens in this side of the world, and so I'm really excited to have had you part of the season 1 of Human at Work, and so really thank you for making the time, and I'm sure there'll be more reflections like this in the future.
Thank you so much, Anita, for inviting me. It was great talking to you, and honestly, it was all candid conversation with you. I didn't prepare for it, so thank you so much for inviting me.
That's the whole point.
Really.
Really to have a candid conversation, because as I was thinking about it, I'm like, we can talk about TikTok. A lot of this is public now. This is stuff we've graduated from. We're alumni, and we can share, and so that's what gave me a lot of excitement. While thinking about how we would have this conversation. And so I'm super excited about the time we got to spend today and while I was in Singapore. So thank you for joining me on Human at Work, powered by Hoogly AI. I'm Anita Krishan, and until next time, here's to making work more human.